All right, welcome back. So, a nation in crisis, reflections on Trump, riots, and the cost of power. Okay, so listen to this. This is the piece that I was talking about. All right, so it's a sad day in America. I mean, truly sad. I don't say that lightly because I've always believed in this country. I'm talking about the United States of America. Always believed in its people, its promise, and the idea that we can somehow weather the storm, no matter how fierce it gets. But as I'm watching everything happening on TV and all the reports of riots that began in Los Angeles, and now allegedly, not allegedly, but I heard it was spreading to Texas yesterday. I didn't really cover that news. I can't help but feel a deep sense of grief, disappointment, frustration, because what's happening isn't just about one event or one city. It's a culmination, a buildup of choices, attitudes, and leadership failures. Or maybe leadership that was never truly rooted in serving the people to begin with. You see, when Donald Trump first announced he was running for office, I think it was somewhere around 2016. I don't know. I'll be honest, I was on the fence, okay? Well, the most recent one, I'll be honest, I was on the fence like a lot of people. I wanted to keep an open mind. I tried to be respectful of the will of the people. Democracy demands that we listen, even when we don't always agree. But over time, something became clearer and clearer. And not because it was new, but because it had always been there, lurking just beneath the surface. So, of course, Trump came into government with a businessman's mentality, Now, on paper, that sounds like it could be a good thing, especially for those who think they care about their money. Yeah, right. Cutting waste, running things efficiently, focusing on results. But here's the thing, government is not a business. It never has been. And the people are not your employees. They're not your shareholders. They're not your customers. The people are the boss. Who's going to tell Trump? That's the fundamental misunderstanding that defined Donald Trump's time in office. He thought he was stepping into another boardroom, apprentice style. You remember the Apprentice show? That used to be one of my favorite shows. So he was ready to call the shots, but what he walked into was a democracy, a complex, fragile, and powerful machine that requires empathy, strategy, and accountability, checks and balances, and maybe above all else, humility. But that's not what we got. What we got was ego, a hunger for power, a disregard for systems that were built to protect us, the citizens, from exactly this kind of authoritarian instinct. And now we're here, riots in the middle of the day, in an American city. Anger, fear, people rising up because they feel ignored, unheard, disrespected. This isn't just about a single policy or a single injustice. It's the boiling over the years of pent-up frustration about race, about class, about immigration, about basic human dignity. And let's talk about immigration for a moment, shall we? Let's talk about this immigration of a thing, because that too is a reflection of how this administration, the Trump administration, has chosen to operate, not with compassion or pragmatism, but with fear and with division. The immigration mandate under Donald Trump has been, in many ways, one of his most defining legacies. But from where I sit, it's a legacy built on exclusion and hostility. I know it's hard to prove it, but that's just what it is. Yes, we need borders. Yes, we need order. But what we don't need is to mistreat people. What we need is to treat people like human beings. We don't need to treat them as pawns in a political game, especially not when the very fabric of America has always been woven by immigrants. Yes, immigrants, many of whom came here seeking the same things: opportunity, freedom, and of course, safety. If we know that the economy, especially in sectors like agriculture, construction, Donald Trump, construction, and caregiving, is being supported by undocumented workers, then the humane and practical response is not mass deportation, it's not cages, it's not cruelty, it's creating a path, a legal path a pathway to status, to citizenship, a pathway that says you're contributing and we see you. Let them earn it. Charge reasonable fees if you have to. Require certain steps, but give them a chance to be part of the country they helped build. That would have been a policy rooted in dignity and, of course, logic. Logic and Donald Trump. Yeah, right. But instead, what we get today, what we've always gotten is rhetoric that are divisive, angry, fear-mongering rhetoric, and policies that reflect the same energy. This entire political mandate that Trump has ridden into power on, from my personal standpoint, has been driven largely by hate. Yes, and I don't say that lightly. I say it as someone who have observed this from the very beginning. I've listened, I've tried to understand, but hate is not a sustainable strategy. You can ride on it just for a while, short term. You can build a movement around fear and hunger. Yes, you can. But at some point, it burns out because people, I'm talking about real people, they will start to suffer and they will face you. They will face you just like Musk just faced Trump. He's backpedaling anyway. But now, barely 200 days into his presidency, at this very time of reflection, just a few months in, and already the nation feels like it's on fire. Figuratively, of course, but also literally. Look at what's going on, the riots. Protests becoming the norm, a country divided, not just along party lines, by the way, but along morals, simple morals. And while Trump's behavior is often the center of attention, it's worth noting the cast of characters around him. One of them being South African Elon Musk, Canadian American. Okay. Now, I used to admire Elon personally, the vision, the innovation, the relentless pursuit of the future. But what we're seeing now is what happens when ego meets impulse. Musk and Trump were once seen as allies. Well, halfway now because he's apologizing. He said it was too much. But at least mutually beneficial voice. That's what we thought it was. But disruption without discipline quickly turns into chaos, as you can see. Now we hear that Musk wants to reveal secrets. Well, he was revealing some things. And he's been speaking out. Again, he's backpedaling. And I'm not surprised. But is this how we want to run a country? All right, because again, what connects both of these men is impulse, and that impulsiveness might be useful when you're launching rockets, but it's dangerous when you're guiding a nation. Running a government, especially one as influential as the United States, requires more than just bold ideas. It requires wisdom. It requires structure. It requires patience, and most importantly, it requires service. That's a concept that it seems like both Trump and Musk seems to struggle with. Service to something bigger than themselves. And we've seen hard times in this country before, of course. Of course, it was built on that. Cycles of unrest, moments when things seems to begin to tear down. But we've also seen incredible resilience. People rising up not just to destroy, but to build something better. That's where my hope lies, not in any one politician or billionaire, but in the people, in communities who know that the soul of this country can't be bought or sold. Now, I was talking to my parents. About all this recently. We talked about the separation we're seeing, not just politically, but spiritually. A moral separation between those who are clinging to power at all costs. I mean, this would be applicable in Nigeria or America, it doesn't matter. And those who are crying out for justice. And we also talked about blind spots, something I talk about here all the time. The things we might not see from our own limited perspective. I try to keep that in mind. I try to leave room for the unknown, the complexity. But even with that in mind, the pattern is clear. The decisions made by Trump, his administration, and those enabling it, people like Elon Musk, they're not rooted in unity. They are rooted in domination. Of course, it's politics, I understand that, but in silencing, their normal practice in just basically dissenting on, on people, and the consequences, we're living it right now. The riot we've seen over the past few days, at the end of the day, This presidency has revealed something we've needed to confront for a while, for a few years, maybe 12 years now. What kind of country do we want to be? Do we want to be led by fear, by greed, by arrogance, or do we want to build a system that recognizes the dignity of all people, regardless of where they come from, their politics, what language they speak, or how much money they have in the bank? Those are the questions that I have right now. I'm sure you're asking the same question. The truth is, power built on hate will always eventually collapse. Well, all empires will collapse at some point, but this one will probably collapse on its own weight. It may take time, but history always exposes the truth. And if we want a future that's worth living in for our children, our neighbors, and ourselves, then we have to start building it now. Start from a personal standpoint. We're just talking. We don't know all the intricacies. With policies rooted in compassion, with leadership that listens, with people who understand that this country doesn't belong to one man. No country belongs to one man. It shouldn't be in 2025. It doesn't belong to any one party. It belongs to everybody. The people are the boss. This is more than politics. This is about who we are and who we are willing to become. So hopefully you take one or two things away from that. I really do hope that you take something away from that, but those are my thoughts over the past 48 hours with regards to what has been going on, especially in Los Angeles. Okay, so it's not about politics. I'm just saying, but let me know what your thoughts are. Shout out to all of you. I want you to get back to your day, your productive days. Don't forget, I do have a workshop that I'm running about. It's called Free AI Workshop. The link is, you go to manofprestige.com. The first link will allow you to register. It's purely free. Okay, so I'm just sharing what I know, but I also want to share some strategy to help you stay ready, to help you future-proof your future. AI is already here. It's not coming. It's already here. So please pay attention to that. Hit like, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications. Hopefully you've been enlightened, educated. I will see you on the next one. Peace.
It's your love that I've been missing. I miss all your hugs, your touching and kissing. Me love on the floor, the couch in the kitchen. One love enough, we done enough.